Well, I had an example, not of an agent or AI going rogue, but a professional negligence claim against an accounting firm that had used ChatGPT in a particular way to draft tax returns and so forth. And um, it was found that the figures were actually done on a, see, they've got the different models. They've got the pro, they've got the very high, and the power. And, if you don't use the pro model and the credits and top up, you're risking that the quality, the output is going to be incorrect. And the higher you go up, it seems that it's pretty much almost perfect most of the time, if you put the right data in. However, in this case, they were trying to cheap out and not paying for the additional credit. So using one of these cheap ones, not only is it obvious because it spits out the big ugly hollow circles and the big dashes and the unnecessary bolding on the words that don't need bolding in any particular for any particular reason throughout the content. And it turned out that this tax return was flawed with issues. And there's a duty of care there to your clients. And in the end, this resulted in a negative tax outcome. And this particular client came to our office, and we actually had to sue this accountant. And yes, in that regard, the professional negligence claim was successful, and we settled it with the professional indemnity insurer. But they may not be covering these sorts of issues in future. At the moment, they seem to be covered for negligence. But it's quite possible in the future that this won't be the case. Um, so this is a particular issue that we're facing, but that was in that regard we successfully got the client back $300,000. But I can't guarantee that that will occur at all times.
Yeah, so something that we're seeing across our clients at the moment. So we protect say a lot of executives and high net worth individuals, and one of the things that we are seeing a lot of is this also as well in the executive space as well is the rise of deepfakes and voice cloning. It does take only 3 seconds to synthesize a human voice at the moment, and that can come from a LinkedIn video. It could be a professional video that's on there, or it could be something as simple as the voicemail. And we're finding that the deep fakes as well. So these are videos where someone will be sitting in a meeting, just like we are now, sitting on a video call, and they are misrepresenting a certain individual. And we're finding through our client base at the moment that there are very simple things that you can do to help mitigate this. So if you do think that you're in a conversation, in a Zoom call, Teams call, whatever that might be, with somebody who's a deep fake, one of the good kind of things that you can do at the moment is that the faces are generally stitched over your face, so it'll be a picture of the person. If you ask the person to put three fingers over the face, that will often as well, you'll see the face projected onto the hand. So you'll often find that people who are doing these deep fakes will do anything possible to not move their head too far away, or will certainly not put their fingers in front of their face. So that's one thing that we're seeing a lot
Yeah.
across our member base at the moment.
Well, I had a case recently, now that you touch on it, with a deep fake issue, and it was pretty serious. It was a financial advisor who had their email account compromised, I think, from a phishing attack, they
Mhm.
call it. Did you want to just quickly explain what a phishing attack is before I go on?
Yeah, so phishing attack is generally where it's something or a person or a service impersonating something else. A good example would be you might get an email from, say, Microsoft.com, and the I could be a one. So generally it's something that's misrepresenting something official.
Yeah, well, in this case, I think it was basically a phishing attack that got the financial advisors firm that then got them the people who got cyber attackers got access to the email system to the Microsoft tenancy. They wouldn't have had proper monitoring on it. Like for example, you talk about Huntress and these cybersecurity firms. That's right, Ryan, where they monitor. Go ahead,
Correct.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so these are tenancy monitoring systems. So generally, most businesses will run a Microsoft tenancy. These kind of they're called them ITDRs. These systems will just sit there and monitor for anything, logins from different countries, anything that's been set up in the email in terms of like auto forwarding rules. So these are kind of like SOC-based services, security operation centers, where people are consistently monitoring the tenancies to pick out these irregular behaviors. And these are kind of the modern day layers of defense that most organizations need at the moment to be able to tell when things are happening inside the tenancy when otherwise you wouldn't know until normally one of your customers or your suppliers is saying, "Hey, we're getting some weird emails, or we're getting some unexpected behavior from your accounts. Can you check it out?"
Well, in this case, that exact software that this particular financial advisory firm didn't have those on their tenancy, had they had those in place from someone competent like yourself advising and helping them, they might have avoided the issue, or someone would have been alerted to what was going on. And so ultimately what happened was they basically did a deepfake video, a live one too, where they basically impersonated the financial advisor in a very short video. It was very close to a transaction ending that had been negotiated, like an investment. And this was like a final video and instructions on payments, and they actually imitated the voice and the person. So it looked like, for example, one of my clients talking to me, or one of your clients talking to you, and in a rough video, or someone that's busy or doesn't have the best eyesight, or maybe not good with technology, they don't think twice about those things you described, and they just trusted to be their advisor, and so they ended up transferring $200,000 into a wrong account, into a criminal's account, which was then transferred into cryptocurrency offshore and gone forever, impossible for police to trace. But that money was intended to be an investment, superannuation investment contribution. And ultimately, you could feel sympathetic for the firm, but the security wasn't there. They weren't, very prudent with up to date with policies, procedures, with staff, managing these things. What happens when it happens, and then ultimately we ended up bringing a professional negligence claim against them, and in that particular regard, the financial advisors were not covered by their insurance policy. There was an exclusion clause in their particular policy because they're all different. They're not all the same. They're similar, but they're not all the same. And that's why it's important to know and understand your insurance policies that protect you and your business, and make sure you work within them, and uphold them as best you can, because in this case they weren't. They actually had to dip into their pocket. We settled it with them for, I think our clients made a compromise of about a $20,000, but it was a small price to pay, because ultimately we only really had to kick off the proceedings in the County Court of Victoria, because the Supreme Court was obviously a different jurisdiction, not necessary. County Court was a bit more efficiently managed, and we got to the first mediation fairly cost effectively, and we settled it, and they did a compromise. It was purely a commercial compromise. They would have won the case, they would have gotten the full amount, but they would have spent another 50 grand on legal fees, example, running a full trial, getting a barrister. It's very expensive to prepare it. And so ultimately a good result for them. They recovered pretty much, 80, 90% of what they lost. So, but in that case, they had to dip into their own pocket, which is a bit of pill to swallow for a small cost, Ryan, of having some additional layer of security and IT advice, and not cheaping out on your IT and cybersecurity advice every
Agreed.
month can surely save you a lot of
Totally.
money, can't it?
100%. Having that cybersecurity insurance as well is a it's no longer just an optional tick box now when it comes to your business insurance. It really is a requirement. So it is really important that people have cybersecurity insurance, and that they have phishing and they have the social engineering kind of tick boxes all ticked, because in this deepfake era, it sounded like the boss is no longer verification, recognizing a voice as proof or video as proof. It just isn't anymore. So generally, when there are funds being transferred in the enterprise space and the personal space that I work in, what really changes is that it's callback rules. So if you feel that it's not sitting quite right, the person you're talking to, you take your known contact or from the website of that person, you call them back and you speak to them. Or a pre-agreed code word is normally very good. So we, in the family space, we will often have siblings or children would be appearing to be texting via WhatsApp or by some signal, by some secure messaging app, pretending to be the kid. They might be in some type of financial difficulty. They might just need some money. Generally, it's like, "I've dropped my phone in the toilet. I need you to send me some money." So we sit down with families and we try and have a bit of fun with it, and try and pick out code words that can be used. So if you are struggling to prove the authenticity of an individual at a corporate or family layer, is that you do have that kind of almost like the safe word, really, to prove that the identity of that person is. And that's something that just needs to be known within a management team or within a family setting. But it's good people have fun with it. They sit at the dinner table trying to work out what their family word's going to be, their code word.